Kannan sir. To tell about him, he is a farmer now at Sarvaikaran Palyam near Pollachi. He, along with his wife, are running a learning center, Pailagam, at his village, which provides a learning platform. Kannan sir is an engineering graduate from College of Engineering Gindi and has done his MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. His previous journey has been being vice president at Emphasis, leading learning and analytics. He has also worked at Standard Chartered Bank and HCL Infosystems. His book, War and Ahimsa, Gandhi on Kashmir, has been recently published in Tamil. His interview with the late Gandhian leader, Narayan Desai, has been published as a booklet in English and Tamil. He has also translated an anthology of the writings of Gandhi. He has been translating Tirukal and other poems from Tamil literature into English. So, please let us welcome him.
Vanakkam. It's a pleasure to meet you all and on Gandhi Jayanti, and it's even more of a pleasure to talk to you in front of Kuttambakam Ilango, one of the person I really looked up to when I stepped out of the corporate world. He was one of I think he doesn't remember fully well, but he was one of the first people I interviewed when I left Kekle. So he was one of the first people who I interviewed when I left the corporate world, and I was looking at what to do next. And definitely his contribution is quite big in me making the decision to go to the village. So thank you, sir. So Anantu wanted me to talk about Khadi and Gandhi, how to spin the future. Whenever we talk about Khadi, it's as if we are talking about history. But there is so much to learn from that history that our future seems to rest on that past. If only we can really understand the journey of Khadi, the journey of evolution of the idea of Khadi within Gandhi, we can find a lot of answers for our future, for our present and for our future, which doesn't seem to be all that bright right now. Shiv Vishwanathan was talking about the climate change, the anthropogenic climate change that's happening now. With the 1.5 degree incremental global warming that we are looking at, which could even go up to 2 degrees Celsius, and a set of irreversible changes in the earth, increase in sea levels, submerging of islands, extreme climates, extreme weather changes. So, when we are looking at all of this, when our future generation, our children are looking at all of this, and it doesn't seem to be very far away. We're talking about a timeline of 2030 to 2050 when, we may touch 1.5 degrees Celsius. So we need to really look at what can be done. And people are raising that question that what needs to be done, that most of our models, most of our economical and political models have failed, is something that people are accepting now. Children are raising, people like Greta are raising those questions that, you have failed us, that your models, your political economic models have failed us. But, where are the solutions? So that's the big question in front of us. And I believe we can really find a lot of solutions in Gandhi. And to me, Khadi represents the essence of Gandhi. This month actually, we are celebrating the centenary of Gandhi giving up his clothes, wearing his loin cloth. And the Gandhi உடைய அரையாடை நூற்றாண்டு வந்து இந்த மாதம் நம்ம கொண்டாடிட்டு இருக்கோம். So ஸோ அதில் அந்த அரை ஆடை, காந்தியோட அரை ஆடை அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, இட்ஸ் நாட் ஜஸ்ட் சிம்பிளிசிட்டி. அது வெறும் எளிமை, ஏழைகளோடு அவர் வந்து அடையாளப்படுத்திக்கிறார் அப்படிங்கிறதோட மட்டும் நம்ம குறுக்கி பார்த்து, அது ஒரு முக்கியமான விஷயம். காந்தி வந்து ஏழைகளோட அடையாளப்படுத்தினார் அப்படிங்கிற போது ஏழைகள் காந்தியை வந்து தங்களோட அடையாளப்படுத்திக்கிட்டாங்க. ஒரு தகவல் பரிமாற்றம் இல்லாத ஒரு காலத்திலையும் மக்கள் வந்து காந்தி பின்னால் போக முடிந்தது. அவங்க காந்தி சொல்வது முழுக புரியாத போதும் அவங்களால காந்தி பின்னாடி போக முடிந்தது. அப்படிங்கிற போது அது 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 அந்த அரையாடை வந்து அதில் ஒரு முக்கியமான பங்கு ஆற்றியது. Anantha wanted me to talk mix English and Tamil because the audience is mixed, so please bear with me for switching languages now and then, and stop me whenever you don't understand what I'm talking. So it represented far more than just simplicity. I think it represented the entire philosophy of Gandhi. His cloth, he made a statement through his cloth that we need to move towards less consumption, towards decentralization, towards spreading out production, towards really decentralizing power, production and consumption. All of that is really captured in his simple statement of wearing that half dhoti. And that material was khadi, so it gains even more significance. He was really raising a challenge to the industrialized economy, be it left or right. They were all moving towards industrialization. We are still moving towards industrialization, and Gandhi raised a challenge towards that. What kind of industrialization do we need? What kind of application of science do we need? What kind of technologies do we need? So those are the questions that Gandhi raised through his simple gesture of becoming half naked, right? And he also raised very fundamental questions that went beyond nationalism. Again, looping back to what Shiv Vishwanathan said, we need to get out. Gandhi was a nationalist, or at least presented him as a nationalist during the freedom struggle. But even then, he did transcend nationalism. And again, khadi is a classic example of that. We tend to understand nationalism in a very different way. When I passed out of college, when I finished my MBA, we had campus placements. So we had a lot of companies coming in, most of the multinationals. At that time, I was blown away by a nationalist fervor, and I said I'm going to work only for an Indian company. So I sat out of placements for almost 2 days because none of the Indian companies were big enough to demand a slot on the first 2 days. So most of them started coming in towards the third day. Even the likes of Infosys, or they were all getting a letter. So I was basically sitting out. You had the Citibanks and HL, Unilevers, and all of them walking in. I sat out. I said I'm going to work only for an Indian company. And I did land up in an Indian company. And over the, incidentally, I was working right here in Monteith Road. And that was kind of, those 2 years were an awakening for me. I realized it doesn't make sense. Whether you're working in a multinational company or working in an Indian company, when the setup is pretty much the same, what difference does it make? You are working within a system that is globalized, and the benefits and the harms are all globalized. It doesn't really make a difference whether you're working for an Indian company or a multinational company, American, Swedish, whatever company it is, as long as it is still representing the same political, economic order of the world. So that was a big awakening for me. And now when I didn't discover Gandhi at that time. When I started reading Gandhi, when I read Gandhi now, he clearly made a statement that Swadeshi, what we call Atmanirbhar now, does not mean just make in India. Right? சும்மா நம்ம அங்கே மான்செஸ்டரில் இருக்க துணியை இந்தியாவில் உற்பத்தி செய்தாங்கன்னா அது வந்து ஸ்வதேசி இல்லை அப்படின்னு காந்தி வந்து மிக தெளிவாக அதை சொல்கிறார். இந்தியன் காட்டன், இந்தியன் மில் காட்டனை நான் போட மாட்டேன் அப்படிங்கிறது அவருடைய முக்கியமான ஒரு இது. அது அப்போ அந்த காதி அப்படிங்கிறது while he positioned it as a tool to fight imperialism, he also understood that simplification of Swadeshi is not the solution. So it challenged the economic order, it challenged the industrial order, and not just the political power of the British. It fundamentally challenged the economic system that was becoming prevalent across the world. So that is what Gandhi did through Khadi. He repeatedly kept saying Indian mills are not equal to Khadi. Even if Indian mills are producing Khadi cloth, he still rejected them. He did not accept it. He saw Khadi as something that again flows bottom up. It has to be hand spun, hand woven, and when we extend it to our times, it assumes many factors are also coming in. What kind of cotton are you using today? So, many questions need to be raised. Today, I can wear a Khadi shirt which uses BT cotton. So, is it still Khadi? Would Gandhi still accept it? Would he challenge that? If you walk into any Khadi showroom, you have to be very careful of what you're buying. People use poly cotton now. Does it still fundamentally define what the spirit of Khadi stood for? So, in today's world, we need to add many parameters to assess the impact of Khadi, but Gandhi even then understood Khadi to signify decentralization of power, decentralization of production. And he understood that the wealth gets distributed a lot more in a system like Khadi. Again, when I say Khadi, while Gandhi kept saying Khadi, and he got into a debate with Tagore on focusing too much on Khadi. Tagore challenged Gandhi, how can you consider Khadi to be a kind of a silver bullet? So they had a long debate, Gandhi and Tagore, on Khadi. So Gandhi did stress upon Khadi. But I think what we understand from those debates between Gandhi, Tagore, you should really look up those debates with very respectful and very, very intellectual and practical. So those debates really teach us that Khadi did not just signify clothes. It signified the entire economic system that Gandhi had in mind, or rather the system that evolved along with Gandhi. He saw Khadi initially, if you look at his speeches in early 1920s, or when he discovered Khadi in 1917, from that time onwards, he was looking at Khadi primarily as a tool to eliminate poverty, to alleviate poverty. ஒரு ரூபா காதி துணி நம்ம வாங்கினோம்னா 13 ஆனா ஒர்க்கர்ஸ்க்கு போய் சேரும் அப்படின்னு காந்தி சொல்றார் 13 ஒரு ரூபானா I think it's 16 annas. So out of 16 annas, he said 13 annas goes to the workers, which is unheard of. That cannot happen with any amount of efficiency in any industry, be it an Indian mill or a Manchester mill producing cotton. That cannot happen. It will be entirely reverse. 13 annas may go to the single owner or the major shareholders, while 3 annas may go to the workers, and that is what we are witnessing even today. So Gandhi said 13 annas out of your 16 annas go to the workers. So that was his that's starting point. How do I address poverty? So that's where Gandhi started off. But as we see his speeches on Khadi, you can see the idea really growing up within him. And then it starts signifying something much more. Then he talks about decentralization. Initially, he talks about producing Khadi and selling it everywhere. He's just trying to replace the mill cloth with Khadi. Then he starts talking about producing Khadi and consuming Khadi wherever it is produced. So that is also an important aspect that he's bringing in, because even today, most people cannot afford Khadi. That's a fact. We went on a tour from Kanyakumari to Chennai with former Vice Chancellor of Gandhigram University, Markandan. We visited a lot of Sarvodaya Sanghs on the way. We met a lot of women who are still working on khadi, on spinning, weaving. Invariably, everywhere we went, we saw that the women who are working with the Sarvodaya Sangh are not wearing khadi. They are wearing cheap polyester cloth, mill-made cloth. And whenever we ask them, they say we cannot afford it. So that is precisely what Gandhi was trying to address, that you produce in cloth for yourself. I think that is getting defeated now. Most people who produce cloth or for that matter, most other products. I know people who in our village who are rearing cow, who don't keep milk for themselves. So they'll just sell the milk to the cooperatives and keep very little for themselves. They won't give, my daughter gets 2 glasses of milk a day. I don't think the person who's selling milk to us in our village gives 2 glasses of milk to her grandchildren. It doesn't happen that way. They just sell off the milk in bulk to the milkman who goes to the cooperative. So that's the same that happens with khadi also. And Gandhi understood that. He kept insisting that unless you spin your own cloth, you are not your own yarn, you are not eligible to wear khadi. So that is something that he insisted. So towards 1940s, we can see that Gandhi is talking in terms of what we are talking about today when we talk about village economy. In terms of decentralization, he starts talking about the oceanic circles, on how the power has to be structured with village and spreading out outside. So primarily the village produces for itself, and then whatever is in excess is what goes outside. It's not the other way around. Today, the village produces for the city, and whatever remains is what comes to them. And I'm a coconut farmer. I don't sell my coconuts in my village. One reason, monocropping, there are too many coconuts in the village, so obviously the village cannot consume all the coconuts. So that's a major issue. And another reason, it's if I value add, if I produce coconut oil, I cannot sell that coconut oil in my village because the prices are simply, it doesn't work out. So my villagers, apart from the farmers who own the land, most of the workers, be they the Dalit workers, non-Dalit workers, they buy palm oil from the ration shops. So you have palm oil getting imported from somewhere in Africa or Far East Asia, coming to Servaikaranpalayam village, while I am exporting coconut oil from my village to the city. So that's pretty much the standard process today for any product that you take. So all these need to be addressed. So when we talk about khadi, we are not talking just about khadi. We are talking about that entire ideology, the practical difficulties that we are facing and how it can be replaced. So that is something that Gandhi really understood. He went to the extent of saying yarn can become currency, because money is something that's minted by RBI or some central banks of various countries. He even challenged that order. He said, yarn can become your currency. When I'm producing for my own for the consumption of my village, or like the cluster of villages that Ilango and others are talking about. So then what will be the currency? Do I still need to import currency from Delhi or Nasik? So Gandhi even challenges that. He offers a solution of yarn becoming a currency by itself. So people can actually, he says why other producers cannot become a currency. It cannot be oil or grains or anything. He says yarn is best suited to become a currency, which can be, so it's not just a barter system, which used to exist earlier, but he's talking about yarn becoming a currency. You can produce as much yarn as you can, and you can really exchange yarn and buy the things that you want for your consumption from within the village, from within your own locality. So that is very much possible, right? When you are not even dependent on currency uh, with the union government or the state government for that matter. So that becomes very critical. Today we talk about Make in India, and then suddenly the state governments come and talk about Make in Tamil Nadu. Probably what's more important is made in my village and sold in my village. So that to me is what Khadi stands for, and that to me is what the decentralized economy that Gandhi thought of stands for. And to me that seems to be the biggest solution for the global climate crisis that we are facing. If we are talking about reducing emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, it cannot ever happen as long as you don't change the system drastically. It's not about moving from communism to capitalism, or having some CSR activities. It doesn't work that way. Fundamentally, the system has to be changed. It has to be completely overthrown, is how I would put it. So unless you do that, you will keep having produce moving from one place, from the village to the city, from India to other countries, from other countries to India to the villages. So that challenge, which we have created for ourselves, or the crisis that we have created for ourselves, can only be solved if we move towards that kind of rigorous decentralized economy. And again, Tagore challenged Gandhi on various other priorities, and Gandhi interestingly said, when there is fire around you, you have to put out the fire. You can't be thinking about other luxuries. You have to make those sacrifices. You have to put out that fire. And the same language I'm seeing in a Greta Thunberg today talking exactly the same language, that when your house is on fire, what will you be doing? Right? That's firefighting is the only thing that you have to be doing. We cannot be talking about various other things. So that firefighting, Gandhi started it, and I think it has now come down to the next generation who are also talking about the same sort of firefighting. And the real fire ahead of us is the political economic system that we are having, and we have to fight that. It's not just about reducing poverty, or it's not just about adding more roads, or replacing nuclear energy with solar energy. All of that is important, but it's not sufficient in itself. It has to be a total transformation of the system. Today, if we look at a village, again going back to why cloth, you have three fundamental needs: food, clothing, and housing. None of that is satisfied locally today. If I want food, I can't eat coconuts all the time. So, most of the vegetables come from outside. Even any village shop today, in our area especially, go to the market in Coimbatore or Pollachi, they'll buy vegetables and come and sell in Pollachi. So, most villages today do not have self-sufficiency in food. So, as a country, we talk about self-sufficiency in milk, self-sufficiency in food. But as a village, I don't think we have self-sufficiency in food. And cloth, there is absolutely zero self-sufficiency in cloth. Most cloth comes from outside. Even housing, most materials come from outside. So Gandhi challenged that also. If you look at the house that he built for himself, he insisted on building that house with materials that came from around Wardha. When the house in Sevagram was built and Miraben was supervising that, it was built within 100 rupees or so, entirely made of materials from around that area. So today you don't have that. Your food, cloth, housing, all of that, we are dependent on other areas. We have completely lost that kind of self-sufficiency. So to me, Khadi is the starting point, and it signifies that kind of a self-sufficiency at a local level. And Gandhi could really associate various other benefits to Khadi, especially Khadi. he said the other reason Gandhi focused on khadi was because it can be done by everybody. He said agriculture cannot be that single weapon for me. Because agriculture means money. Only the land is owned by a few people. But khadi, spinning can be done by everybody. So that is one major reason why he chose khadi as the medium through which he can talk about everything else. Because it can be done by everyone, be it a farmer, landowning a farmer, or a landless laborer, or a person sitting in the city. They can become part of that process. And will everybody buy into it? They did for some time. This is again something that Tagore said. When you have a charismatic leader like Gandhi, calling for something, people will participate in it for some time, and then they will lose interest. It did happen because the systems were not fully set up during Gandhi's time. We lost thread afterwards, but people can be made to follow. If we ask people to wear masks, they're wearing masks. If you ask people to come out and bang the plates to chase away corona, they come and scream, "Go corona" on the streets. So if people can be mobilized to do such silly acts, why cannot they be mobilized to do something that fundamentally changes our system? It could be khadi, it could be something, anything. There are so many other activities which we can think of. It could be just churning butter, it could be so many other things which can be done at home by everybody. And then you kind of mobilize your thinking, mobilize your entire workforce, your thought process around that single vehicle, which is what Gandhi managed to really achieve. And he also saw that as a big time filler for people who are dependent on the monsoon. Today, maybe it's not that much of a problem because we have created other problems. We have created, we have dug deep into the groundwater. So in many places, agriculture happens throughout the year because you are not dependent on monsoons. But at least at that time, because you are dependent on monsoons, and farmers and villagers were free for the major part of the year, he could see khadi as an activity that can really keep people engaged. He saw that as an activity that will empower women. He clearly articulated all of these things. It brings in women's empowerment. It addresses the drinking issue because you are not whiling away your idle time, but you are using that productively, and that really takes your mind away from drink. And it addresses your drinking issue, and it even addresses communal harmony. So he saw this as something that can integrate all his major other issues. His top 4 issues really were communal harmony, untouchability, prohibition, and women's empowerment. And he saw khadi integrating all of that. And I think it's still applicable today also. But let me finish with this firm message that to me, khadi signifies a complete overhaul of the economical, political system that we currently have, from a centralization of power and centralization of production, mass production, to total decentralization and total production by masses. Thank you.